Jaya Ram.
भाई चरणारविंद भक्ति विराट स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री ठाकुर हरिदास की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। अवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा देवी की जय। यमुना मई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन विविधि संस्थापक आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Go Premanande. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak a few words in glorification of Krishna and his pure devotees. Is there a way to engage the children such that they won't be a disturbance? That was fast.
We have a separate room.
Got it. Okay. All right. So tonight I thought we can discuss from chapter 10, text number 9. Did you mention anything to our host about this, or did you not, Aina? You did. Okay.
They're asking.
I was hoping it was synchronicity, but all right. Anyway, it's in chapter 10. We have what we call Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, 4 essential verses of Bhagavad Gita that really encapsulate its gist. They're from texts 8 through 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Tonight, some people just really get absorbed.
Children can go in the other room. All the kids, please go in the other room. Prabhu will show you where. Because the devotees behind also, please come inside.
Mostly in this material world, we all have the absorption. We're all kind of in samadhi that even Bhagavad Gita doesn't distract us. But that's not ideal. So let's try to focus. So what have we heard so far tonight? Okay, it's getting through. 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, 8 through 11 of chapter 10. And tonight we're on the second verse by request. So I'll just chant the Sanskrit. Mad chitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. That means the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Who is speaking?
Krishna, Krishna.
Obviously. Okay. Why don't we repeat this? The thoughts of my pure devotees
The thoughts of my pure devotees
dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted
Their lives are fully devoted
to my service,
service,
and they derive great satisfaction
and they derive great satisfaction.
and bliss
This
from always enlightening one another
always lightning
and conversing about me.
conversing about me.
There's a stunning Bhaktivedanta purport here, which we will read now. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Okay, there's a short here. Hare Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens the transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed. And if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavana, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukam Karudi Vachalam Pangal Manghayate Girim Yad Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripatindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Bigopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaivasam Bhayaha Pitva Hrishyayus Tat Priyajanaha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his 10th canto commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam prays like this. He says, "My dear Lord Gopal, only if you accept my words as your cows will they give sweet milk and please your pure devotees." So, Madchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tashyanti Charamanti Cha. These are the things that characterize the pure devotees. First of all, Madchitta. Their minds, their consciousness is always on me. Chitta. What does chitta mean? Not just mind. It's a technical term. It means mind and intelligence and false ego. Yes. All of them. They're fixed on the Lord. That's called chitta. Madgata prana. What does that mean? Madgata prana. The lives are given over to me, as it were. Gata. So their very lives are given to me. In fact, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, what do we hear about Duryodhana and company? He's telling on the battlefield that he's waving to all the Kauravas and he says, all these men, they're all tyakta jivitaha. What does that mean? They've given up their lives for me. Imagine giving your life for Duryodhana. They all did it. And so many of us in this material world, if we're left to our own devices, because we were left to our own devices, what did we do? We gave up our Krishna consciousness, and we're struggling here in, where are we now? Holly Springs, North Carolina. And it's not everything that was cracked up to be, right? Not even Niagara Falls will satisfy you forever, right? Because that's on every Indian's bucket list, isn't it? You're praying hard to Chilikuru Balaji that please give me the visa, then I can go and see Niagara Falls. And rumor has it that the pavement in Manhattan is made out of solid gold, or so you would think, judging by the enthusiasm with which people are doing their rounds around Chilikuru Visa Balaji. You all know about that, right? Kyonki aajkal America mein Telugu ka akraman ho raha hai. And this is how you all get here. I've been there. In fact, I can proudly say I knew him before he was famous. First time I saw that temple near Golconda outside of Hyderabad. Nobody else was going to this temple, empty shack in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't even guess it was a temple. It doesn't look still. And, anyway, somehow the Pujari started the idea that this deity is giving out visas. And in fact, he is giving out visas for his own purposes. You think it's for your purpose? Think again, my friend. It's a setup. Because as soon as you come to America, Hare Krishna, welcome. Step this way. Have you seen Bhagavad Gita as it is? We have it in Telugu also. So he's setting everybody up for this. And you've all discovered. I mean, I've lost track of the number of NRIs who have told me that had we stayed in India, we never would have become Krishna conscious. I know. Zarur. So, all right. Madgata prana means we give our lives instead to Krishna. And this is the second characteristic. The mind is fixed on Krishna, the life is given to Krishna, offered as a sacrifice in her service. Just like a tulsi leaf is offered to the lotus feet of the deity. Who's praying like this? Vidyapati Thakur, famous Maithili poet. He says, Madhava Bahuta Minati Karitoy. He says, what is it? It's not escapes me the song, but he's praying like that. I'm offering my life to you, just like we're offering tulsi leaf to the lotus feet of the deity. So Madgata Prana, and then what is the activity of these devotees who are so described? Bodhayantaha parasparam means they try to preach to one another, encourage one another, enlighten one another if need be. Or Kathayantas Chamam Nityam, talking about Krishna all the time, sharing their realizations, talking about Krishna. Inquiring also we should do. This is described in Upadeshamritam by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then two more things. They look like one thing, but it's actually two things. Tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. What does that mean? Tushyanti. Toshana. What does toshana? Tushti.
Nourishment.
Santushti, yeah. Satisfaction. They're satisfied. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on this verse, he's explaining they're satisfied when they're in the neophyte stage. And why are they satisfied? Because they appreciate, they're grateful that they have the opportunity to engage in these activities. Just like we were just chanting at leisure 10 minutes ago, right? We're free to chant. Do you think we could do this if we were living in, say, Kandahar, Afghanistan? I don't think so. How about Pyongyang? It's a little better there, right? No, it's probably worse. At least in Afghanistan, they believe in God. But in Pyongyang, there's nothing of the sort allowed. You cannot openly chant Hare Krishna in some places, even in this world. What to speak if the Yamadutas get a hold of you and take you to some other world where it's not so pious either? And how do you know you're not going there? It depends on what you're doing now. Consider the ramifications of all this. So tushyanti cha, they're satisfied that they have the opportunity to engage even in neophyte devotional service. We think it's a struggle. And we feel that it's, maybe even a chore. To be a disciple is not so easy thing, because disciple means discipline, right? And discipline by its very nature means you may have an inclination very strongly to do something else, but you fix your mind on this instead. That is discipline. It has to be austere. We were discussing austerity in the car on the way here. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, what kinds of austerities do we do in Krishna consciousness? Who could tell me the answer? Not you. Huh? What kind of austerities do we do? Penance and austerity. What do we do in Krishna consciousness of this sort? We preach Krishna consciousness. That in itself is austere enough. Because all you have to do is try preaching to you. Well, don't do it actually, because it never works. But you try to preach to everyone. I mean, go into the office on Monday morning and start preaching to your boss and see how far you get. I don't think so. Or even your family members, right? Sometimes they're opposed also. All your friends, you thought but they're nice people. But as soon as you introduce Krishna consciousness, that polarizes everything, isn't it? Yeah, it really shows where a person really stands. So it's not so easy thing. Ramanujacharya says this is the austerity of knowledge. We spoke on this last year, I think. Anybody remember? Threefold austerity of knowledge. The first aspect of the austerity of knowledge is that you have to acquire that knowledge. Don't just leave it as it is. Pick it up and read it. Internalize it. And then what happens then? Then you're faced with a dilemma. You have to make some decisions, right? If you read here, it says, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. Then you have some choices to make, isn't it? Yeah, that's not always very easy when we're in a conditional state as neophytes. So the secondary austerity of knowledge, you have to actually practically apply that knowledge. You know what Chanakya Kautilya said? He's Kutila. That's why he's called Kautilya. He was a politician, but he said some wise things, and Prabhupada often quotes him. He said, Shastra that you do not apply, that's poison. Strong statement, isn't it? Why is it like that? Why do you say that? Scripture that you do not apply is poison. Why? All you get from it is pride, that you think you know something. Like when we go, especially in India, this disease is very prominent. We try to distribute Bhagavad-gita. I'm Jantahan. That's not good. This old-fashioned bhajan nonsense, we're not interested. No, we know everything. But it's not so. So, this is the thing. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayanta shaman nityam. And the tertiary austerity of knowledge is that once you have actually applied it in your own life and gained some realization, because you will gain realization. What does Krishna say in chapter 15? Yatanto yogana shainam pasyantyatmanyavasitam ityadi. Means that those who are applying this process in their life, who are practicing these teachings, you have to be a practitioner. It's not just a spectator sport. Prabhupada uses the term armchair Vedanta. Cannot be an armchair Vedantist. You have to actually do it. But you have to apply the teachings. And once you apply the teachings, zurur, you will get realization. Then the tertiary austerity, as we mentioned already, you try to preach to someone else. Try to share it with anyone and everyone, actually, because open order is given to whom? Khaskar?
Indian.
Yes, Bharata Bhumi te hoilo, Nunasya Jamna Jar, Jamna Shartha Kori, Ora Parapakar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ne kaha. Aisa ki, that you have to, everyone you meet, you have to give him Krishna's instructions. Jare dekhe tarika, Krishna Upadesh. So that's the third austerity. First austerity, take the trouble, open the book, acquire knowledge, think about what it means. You can't skim through Prabhupada's books and get anything out of it. You have to think about what he's saying. How come he said that? Just like here, he says, the pure devotees fully engage themselves in transcendental, loving service. Yeah, I mean, is there a more complicated way to translate the word bhakti? Well, why does he do that? Most people, when they translate the word bhakti, what does bhakti mean? Devotion. Bas. Simple. But why does he take this trouble? Every 2-3 pages, you'll see he repeats the same formula, no? Transcendental loving service. Why is that? It's supposed to make you think. Wait a minute, this has to be transcendental, first of all. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatman Ashochati Nakangshati Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. You don't get Param Bhakti until you meet these other criteria. And how do you meet these other criteria, being Brahma Bhuta and Prasannatma and Samadarshi? How does that happen? By applying the knowledge, living as if it's true that you are Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. It's not just a platitude. So, you have to take in this knowledge, you have to apply the knowledge, you have to realize it, and then you have to share it. This is what makes it difficult. But Prabhupada said, our austerity, just be more humble than a blade of grass at the same time that you're learning all these things and gaining such deep wisdom that nobody else has or wants in this world. And more tolerant than a tree. More tolerant than a tree. they have this phenomenon, especially here in America, road rage. These people can't tolerate anything. Once I was in a driver education course, and the lady said that it's a true story. Somebody pulled up to a stop sign, and she wasn't even conscious that she had cut somebody off maybe 3 blocks back. But then the car pulls up right behind her, and the guy comes out with a loaded gun, points it at her head and says, "Look, you try that thing one more time and I'm going to blow your cookies into tomorrow." Whatever that means. We get such expressions here in America. So, this is intolerance. Therefore, Prabhupada said, austerity and penance in Krishna consciousness means just this: be tolerant. It's not that bad. Be humble. You're not that good. Offer respect to other people. Isn't that the hardest thing of all? Especially those people that you envy. You should respect and praise those people and assist them. And on top of that, you cannot expect any honor in return. Once I had a discussion with the one professor, I think it was Aravinda Sharma. So he said that I had some questions I wanted to ask him from the Upanishads, and he wasn't entertaining such questions that day. He said, no. Just one thing I want you to understand. He got himself into preaching mode. So he started preaching to me. He said, Karnavani evadhikaraste ma phaleshu ityadi. Aage badho. So he said, how's the man on the street supposed to interpret this? Number one, your only right is to work. Okay, we can handle that. We all working. But you can't have your paycheck. You're still enthusiastic about going to work Monday morning? And not only that, but you cannot take pride in your work also. You can't latch onto that sense of accomplishment because it's not yours. Mate sangostva karmani, and you cannot not work. He said, is this not slavery? He's taking the devil's advocate. So anyway, this is the thing here, that we have to engage in this austerity of giving respect to the other person and not expecting it in return. That's really hard because we like to take pride in what we do. We're all avidly searching for something to be proud of in life, is it not? Yes. That's exactly what we're all about. Because we're so insecure. Actually, the people who are the most, like bullies and, trying to narcissists, and these people are messed up, isn't it? And we're all like that, actually, if we're following in this general paradigm. All right, so anyway, we're doing these things. We're giving our life to Krishna. We're given our consciousness is always on Krishna. We're talking about Krishna. We're enlightening one another and discussing Krishna nityam all the time. And tushyanticha, we're satisfied to have that opportunity. Now, so that I explained only one of them in the last line. What does the other one mean? What's the last phrase? Ramanticha, iska matlab kya hai? Ramanticha. Relish. Yeah, to enjoy. Prabhupada says here, they derive great satisfaction and bliss. So they relish bliss. Ramana. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explains that. He says, in the neophyte stage, we are satisfied that we have the chance to become Krishna conscious. We have the wherewithal and the facility and the environment that is favorable, that allows us to practice Krishna consciousness, even though we're neophytes. We're thankful for that, in other words. We have gratitude. But in the liberated stage, in the mature stage, after we've reaped the benefit of that practice, then what happens? Ramanticha. We enjoy transcendental bliss. So I was saying, transcendental, pehle transcendental hona chahiye, means you have to be on the Brahmabhuta platform. Tab, you have loving service. Krishna says this in the 4th chapter, no? We talked about the austerity of knowledge, right? So, puta, jnana tapasa puta mad bhavam agataha. We get bhava bhakti. We feel some love for Krishna when we're purified by the austerity of this knowledge. Taking in Bhagavad Gita, assimilating, realizing Bhagavad Gita, preaching Bhagavad Gita, tolerating everything that comes at you when you try to do this. This is the austerity of knowledge. And if we go through that austerity, what happens? Puta, we're purified. And when you're purified, there's no more natural predators to eat you up. What's left to do? You experience bhava bhakti. Putamad bhavam agataha. And what does Krishna say? Many, many people have already done this. It's not a new thing. Many, many people have done this. Purvaihi purvataram kratam in chapter 3. What does that mean? Purvaihi purvataram kratam. As the ancients did, so you should do. This is the idea. So nothing new. Prabhupada said, the American disease is you've got to invent something new. You throw something traditional at an American, what always comes? Three-letter question. What is it? Why? 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 No matter what, like children do this, right? Childish mind. So anyway, Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. If we go through this process, take on this austerity, become purified, achieve bhava bhakti, that allows us to engage in transcendental love. And what's the third aspect? Transcendental loving means that you got to do something, my friends. You can't just sit there, you have to do something. Everybody wants to do something, isn't it? Nobody just wants to sit at home and watch TV all day, right? You want to do something with your life. You want to contribute something to the world, no? Help others. And the only one way to do that, Janma Shartha Kori Koraparavakar. You have to first help yourself, because you cannot give what you don't have. Say it out loud. You cannot give what you don't have. So Janma Sartha Kori Tabhi Koraparavakar. This is the idea. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was given this instruction. So this is it. When we're on the transcendental stage of loving service, we're ready to do something for Krishna. What is it that we do for Krishna? We embrace that austerity of knowledge and we spread Krishna consciousness to others. This is the great mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna says in the end of Bhagavad Gita about this, who knows the verse? Not sarvadharman parityajya. Nachatasman manusheshu kwaschin me priyakritamaha. He says, and nobody's more dear to me than somebody who takes on this austerity. You want to be a devotee of Krishna? This is the real test. Do what Krishna is asking. Do what Krishna wants. Why do you think he comes here? Age after age after age, we all know like parrots. We know how to recite the verse, right? Yada yada hi dharmasya glana. Iska matlab to kya hai? Why is he coming? Because, you know, yeah, paritranaya sadhanam, to relieve the devotees who are oppressed and harassed by demons. There are many countries in the world, we were speaking about being grateful for the opportunity of devotional service. There are enough countries in the world, you can't even wear tilak in public. Right? No public displays of religious affiliation. They're coming out with this stuff now, just out of envy alone. And, you know, you cannot, I hate to say, because I live in India, I can say it. One of my friends is president, ICICI Bank, and he was telling me that they have this policy. You cannot even keep a picture of Krishna in your office cubicle if you work in that bank. Can you believe it? You cannot keep any kind of religious nothing. You know, this is their mental concoction of what it means to be modern and secular and progressive and advanced and adi bakwas. So I told him, look, you know, this is many years back. In the 1990s, when Microsoft was in its heyday in Redmond, Washington, I used to go there and preach to all these IT engineers. IT stands for International Tamil or International Telugu Hospital. So, or, you know, if you're Punjabi, it stands for India Tripti. But people, devotees would go to work for Microsoft and they don't care. You do your job. We don't care how you dress, what you look like. They will wear tilak. They're wearing dhotis. They're wearing their sari bead bags. Koi badi baat nahi. They didn't care. Only in India they're uptight about this. Why is that? It's a deep-seated thing, it seems. You know, yeah, okay, somebody's very, very cute, but it's a disturbance. Mangala Thakur says he gets a glimpse of this and he's sharing it with us. He said he's wandering deep in a grove of nipa trees in Vrindavan, and all these cows are there grazing, and there's a boy who's herding the cows. What's he doing? He's eating yogurt and humming to himself in the forest. Just like this sound we were hearing. Just like that. He comes like this. Narakriti. He takes a human-like form just to bewitch us and enchant us the way that these children can do. Only they have some special potency that they can bewitch even serious scholars. Children turn fools into all of us, isn't it? All right, so anyway, transcendental loving service. We have to do something for Krishna, and what we do for Krishna is take on this austerity. We should appreciate that we have the ability to follow this process and assimilate everything, and then one day preach. Now, when you're a pure devotee, when you have decided to make that decision, and it is just a decision, any one of us can make that decision. You don't have to be a big Vedanta Sanskrit scholar. You don't have to be a big Tyagi or sannyasi or anything. You just have to make the decision that what I'm going to do is what Krishna wants, and exclusively. Not going to do anything else. You just have to make the decision. When we do that and realize pure devotion thereby, then we experience this transcendental loving service. So service is the final aspect that has to be realized here. And Krishna is telling us this is how they enjoy. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The kinds of Ramante yogino anante. This is the meaning of the word Rama, actually. When we chant Hare Rama, he means the reservoir of all pleasure. Rama, the reservoir of all enjoyment. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada has taken one analogy in his purport here. What is that analogy? Bhakti is like what? Like planting a seed. What kind of seed? Bhakti Lata. Yeah, Bhakti Lata means these creepers, they wrap around the trees and they climb and they go all over the place. Ivy. So seed means you're taking something that's not already there and you're putting it in the ground, right? So that we can easily misunderstand this. So let me explain. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabhonai. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaya Adoy. That means that although it looks as if we're introducing something into our hearts that was not there previously, the fact of the matter is that Krishna Prema Nitya Siddha Virajaman hai hamare dil mein. So the process is already there. In some respects, you can even say we're already liberated, but we don't know it. We've, you know, it's kind of like the program is still running, but you've double clicked on it. So there's no evidence that it's still there, but it is there. In the material world, that's what happens to our eternally perfect Krishna consciousness. Nitya Siddha means it's eternally there. It's already perfect, but we're just not interested. That's the problem. We've just double clicked and, dismissed that. But once we awaken our innate appreciation for this devotional service through the process of hearing and chanting and ninefold processes of bhakti that we've heard in Bhagavatam, then that appreciation is reawakened. So that's what it means to plant the seed. It's to plant the process, to reinstate our practice of Krishna consciousness by planting the seed of devotional service. Means the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. Instructions like perform Sankirtana, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, live in Mathura, worship the deity, etc., etc. These are 5 important aspects of bhakti. So, this is what it means to plant that seed of bhakti. When the seed fructifies through this hearing and chanting process, it gradually grows, it gradually produces flowers, it blooms, and it produces fruits. What are those fruits? Transcendental loving service. Yes, Bhava Bhakti. Or really, Bhava Bhakti is just the dawn, as it were, Usha, of Prema Bhakti. It's of the same exact nature, but nascent condition. Bhava Bhakti. So we go through stages, and in the beginning we have some initial faith that we should invest where? Huh? Before even Shravan. Huh? Not Guru, not Shastra. Faith is what we're talking about, but where do we invest the faith? No.
Surrenderance?
Association. Adau Shraddha Tataha Sadhu Sangha Anarchana Vritti Syat. I'm sorry, Bhajana Kriya. From Sadhu Sangha, we're automatically engaged. Right now we're hearing from Bhagavad Gita. A few moments ago we were chanting Krishna's holy name. This is called Bhajana Kriya. And Bina Sat Sangana Harikatha Bina Mohana Bhaga Mohagai Binu Ramapada Hoy Nadradona Raga. Yeah. It's the same idea. Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Kai Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Yeah. The thing really takes off only in good association. So in good association, we're engaged in Bhajana Kriya. By this Bhajana Kriya of hearing and chanting in association with pure devotees, sincere devotees, then what happens? Anartha nivritti syat. All the misgivings in our hearts, all the doubts, all the material desires, all the attachments, all the misconceptions, all the bad qualities, like envy and anger and greed and lust and adi. These things are all gradually washed away. Because when Paramatma within the heart sees that we're actually seriously listening and hearing and trying to get somewhere, he says, okay, mercy. We're just blessed by mercy, and then we can transcend easily. So, anartha nivritti syat. Then what happens after the anarthas are removed? I said, no natural predators, to kya hoga. You become fixed. What's going to stop you? Nothing. In that state of fixed devotional service, nishtha bhakti, then ruchi upajaya. You can get this very strong taste, not just like the initial taste that, oh, what is this? Let me hear. That's just curiosity. But real taste means I'm attached to this, addicted, as it were. Yes. So that's ruchi, and from ruchi, asakti, attachment, yeah, addiction. And then bhava. This is the bhava that we spoke of already, the prem, the dawning of prema bhakti. So all the way from some initial faith, that faith takes the form of just curiosity in the beginning. Or, it takes 4 shapes, actually, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. What is it? 4 kinds of people who are pious. Yeah, person is disturbed and he needs relief, but he has faith that if I maybe check this out, something can help, right? So many people come. Oh, I went through a divorce, or my mother recently died, or so many things. They need relief. And that Krishna will give that relief also. What else? Artharthi. They need money. Who doesn't need money? Raise your hand if you don't want any money. Yeah, not a single hand goes up. But anyway, then Artharthi, and then Jignasu means the curious person. Oh, what is this? Let me see what is this. And finally, Jnani, person who actually knows something. He's, by his logic and his reason and his shastric study, he's concluded, yes, it could only be that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. You know what? I talked with one Pandit in Mauritius. There are so many Karma Kandya Pandits in Mauritius. So, he told me, he was honest. He frankly admitted to me one day that we know everything. We know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. We know that all these devatas are just his, mid-level management of the cosmic manifestation. We know that material desire is ultimately futile. We know everything. All these things we know. But we can't tell people that. Because, these people have their desires and they're paying our bills by fulfilling their desires. And so, the thing is that if you become such a pandit, you get wrapped up in other people's karma also. Because you direct people wrong way. Ganesh ko kya bolte hain? Ek aur naam? Ganesh ji ka. Huh? Vignaharta Siddhi Vinayaka or Vinayaka. This is the one I'm talking. Vinayaka. Kyon Vinayaka ko bolte hain? Vinayaka. What does V mean? Visheshkar. What else does it mean? Vigata. Correct in Sanskrit. Vigata means the opposite direction. Vinayaka. If he removes the obstacles to your material situation, then he's actually entangling you further in that material situation, is he not? Think about it. Actually, he is. Therefore, he's called Vinayaka. He's leading you in the wrong direction. Of course, we show respect. But from a position of the absolute truth, it's a useless entanglement. This whole world of karma and all these things, it just causes us suffering. But if you're going to do that, then it's better to get it through pious means, shastric means, including devata puja, if need be. Or not, need be. What does that mean? In Hindi, we have this wonderful expression. Yeah, right? We say, X ko karna chahiye, right? So what does it mean? It means you need something, correct? It also means you want something, correct? So make kya fark ho? Is there a distinction? It's unclear, isn't it? Yeah, see, what we need and what we want, they're not necessarily the same things. Anyway. The point is that, what was I saying before Vinayaka? Got distracted on that. Yes. People come with their motives to surrender to Krishna in the beginning. Somebody's a jnani, he knows everything, like this Pandit in Mauritius. And somebody just wants money, somebody's disturbed, somebody just is curious. Yeah, this is how we enter. This is like entry-level Krishna consciousness, you can say. Not 100% pure in the beginning. We have some expectation. What's in this for me? So that's not love, really. But love comes by following this process. Then we appreciate. And we see the wisdom of adopting this mentality. Mad chitta mad gata prana bodhyanta parasparam katayanta shamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. And we enjoy. And how long do we enjoy Krishna consciousness? How long does it last, Krishna consciousness? You sure? Yeah, any naysayers here? Yes, it lasts forever. Now, what about the things that you can get from anybody else? How long do they last?
Until this body exists.
Yeah, or maybe in the future you can get something also. But we know everything here has an end. What does Krishna say about this in Bhagavad Gita? No. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha. We are eternal, but we're living in a body that has an anta. Or adi antavanta kantayana te shuramate buddha. Anything that has a beginning and an end, he says a smart person doesn't take pleasure there. Because you're going to have to give it up. What difference does it make if you give it up in 5 minutes or in 5 years? If you have to give it up in 10 years, either way, it's going to be gone, correct? So people don't think like this. It's just like this. There are so many parents here. We sent all the kids out already. But parents know you've got plans for their education, is it not? Of course. That's why you live in this particular neighborhood. Because I know Indians never live anywhere unless it's the best school district. Real estate agents also know that Indians go for the best school district. I was in Dunwoody, Georgia. It's near Alpharetta, another IT hub. And all Telugu people there, 90%. And, they were telling me that the real estate agents are so keen that when there's a contested election in the local school board, the realtors get involved. Because look, this is an opportunity loss for us. We're not going to tolerate this. You got to elect this guy who's going to keep the standard up so that all these Telugu people can move in with their visas from Chilakuru Balaji. And the houses all have to face east also. Even if you're Chinese, they also want that. So, yeah, this is anyway. How do we get on this topic? But anyway, the point is that in this material world, even you get your house in where are we? Holly Springs, did you say? Holly Springs, North Carolina, and it's in the best school district and everything. Okay, but what happens after 100 years? Sab kuch pranasht ho jaye, So what is the point? But in Krishna consciousness, anything you put into this bank account, it's solid. This bank is not going under. And they're not going to sell out either. Like Bank of America, I call it Bank of China. But anyway, so these are a few things we can think about here. But the point is that this creeper of bhakti, that we're just struggling to keep it safe now and watering it now, because it's just a little tiny pora, right? At some point, it's going to become a massive tree, like a banyan tree, so strong and so firmly rooted that you can tie up war elephants to that tree and they'll not go anywhere. This is an analogy given in the 17th century. Sorry, 18th century, early 18th century, by a Braj poet named Priyadas. He says this little sapling that we had to put a fence around it because we were afraid that the goats will come and eat it. Now, because I've kept it safe within the fence of satsanga, now it's become a massive tree and nobody can push this tree down. Not even a tufan. Not even, one of these, huge things that they cut forests down in the Pacific Northwest. They have these big machines. Have you seen them? They clear cut whole mountainside in one day, can take the whole thing down. It's ghastly. Anyway, so the plant of devotional service, it grows, it becomes strong, it blossoms, it produces fruits. What are those fruits? Prema phala. What are the fruits? Pure love of Godhead, the loving sentiments. See, people with their material motives, the Artho Jignasur Artharti set. After some time, when they figure out that there's nothing that we're going to get out of this except some love, then they run away. You see, because their hearts are not sufficiently purified yet. But there's nobody in this world who wants to accept all those boons, all of those benedictions that we could get from anybody, Vinayaka or whoever. There's nobody who wants those things in exchange for love. Is it not a fact? You can have all the money in the world, you can have your career, you can have your prestige, you can have your family, you can even have the best school district in Holly Springs, North Carolina, and you can have whatever else you want, but no love. Sound cool? I don't think so. See? And what we really want is love, and what kind of love? 10 years? 50 years? 70 years? Of course not. We're always seeking love. Even when we were tiny children, we wanted that love. Even now, we still want that love. At the moment of death, we still want that love. And if we're thinking we're going to find it in the wrong place, then we're going to go to that wrong place to try and find it, and it won't satisfy us if it's not there. Krishna Bhakti Nitya Tattva. This is the eternal truth of Krishna Bhakti. That is the love that we see. Doesn't go anywhere. Nehabhikramanashosi prativayana vidyate salpamapiyasya dharmasya trayate. Kisse? Mahato bhayat. It saves us from the greatest kind of fear, which is the fear of losing this chance. The thing that we are satisfied to do now, we can lose that. And when we're neophytes, we're very tenuous, like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Some Ritvik comes along and confuses us, or some nonsense, person induces us to engage in dubious, immoral activities, or, breaking principles, or so many things. We can easily lose it. Or if we commit offenses through negligence or whatever, it is easy to lose Krishna consciousness. None of the people who were initiated with me some 50 years ago are still around. None of them. There were 5 of us who sat in the initiation. I'm the only one left, as far as I know. There might be one. I know at least 3 of them are dead. So there might be one. But these are the statistics, and Krishna is upfront about this in Bhagavad Gita also. He doesn't lie. What does he say about it? Manushyanam sasreshu kaschid janvisitaye ityadi. 1 out of 1,000,000 people are even interested, and out of so many of thousands of those, hardly one really gets it. Because hardly one wants it. That's really what it comes down to. You want this, you'll take it. What you want, you will always get. You'll always get what you want. People sometimes, you see that I had to learn when I was in my Saturn period, I had to learn that people don't always mean what they say. Before that, I was a bit more naive. So, what people want and what people say may not be the same thing. There's a nice shloka. How many of you, just out of curiosity, how many of you people know where Uppal is? Uppal, Hyderabad. Outside on east side of Hyderabad, Singapore Township, Dior. How many people here from Hyderabad? First of all, raise your hands. Oh, not so many. I'm surprised. And usually it's like half the crowd. But anyway, one Pandit there in the Venkataraman temple, I was talking to him. So he shared one very wonderful shloka with me. You know what he said? Manasi ekam, vachasi ekam, karmani ekam, mahatma. Manasyanyam, vachasyanyam, karmanyanyam durasmanaha. It means, a great person, what he thinks, what he says, and what he does, all the thing. And a rascal, he's thinking one thing, he's talking something else, and he's doing a third thing. This is the nonsense. So we have to align in this way. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling right now and it's getting late, so I should stop, but if anybody has any questions or any comments? Yes,
Thank you.
what happened to your tablas? Usually you're playing tabla. You didn't bring them.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a college, you can see a lot.
Okay, so your question is?
Yeah, so when I grew up as a child, I've been watching like the villagers doing animal sacrifices to please their deities and all. And then nobody can question anything that they're doing. You just have to follow what they're saying and what they're doing.
Where are you from?
Yes.
Okay,
So the
but
question
this is Tamil or this is what?
it's like a mixture of all of.
Yeah, it's PG Kichli.
Yeah.
Mauritius works the same way.
The question is like, when you were saying that, when we say why, like, why are we doing this, right?
Yeah.
Here, we are questioning them, we understand. There, we could not question, we can actually get beaten for asking questions, we just have to do. So is it
Yeah.
wrong to ask?
It's kind of like when you go to an Indian doctor, right? I have a thyroid problem and I asked the doctor, what's causing this? Oh, we don't ask those questions, just take the levothyroxine.
Wrong to ask these questions to.
No. Tato Brahma Jignasa. Human life is meant for asking. And a bona fide authority should be giving you answers. Maybe they're not, maybe they don't know that. Maybe that's why they're not telling you. If you ask too many questions, and I feel like I'm as ignorant as I am. I don't know, but no, it's not wrong. Should ask questions. Arjuna is full of questions in Bhagavad Gita, is it not? Sometimes he asks the same question more than once. Have you noticed? Yes. If something's not clear, you have a right to ask questions. Pariprashnena sevaya, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 34. This is how we approach a guru. You have to ask questions and render menial service. We have to be ready for both. Take care. Okay. What else? I can hear you. Jor se boliye. Just speak loudly.
Thank you so much for the class. Maharaj, I had a question regarding. Maharaj, I had a question regarding the three aspects you said about
Knowledge.
exactly. Acquiring the knowledge, applying it in your life, and then preaching.
Yes.
So between these three stages, what should be the time, I would say, or what is the right time to go from one stage to the other? I think from acquiring to application would be easy, but what about applying to teaching?
Yeah. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, when what you're telling other people to do is the same thing as what you are yourself doing, then you can preach. If there's a distinction between what you're saying and what you're doing, better, shut the door, stay in your room and preach to your mind.
How you were explaining that in bhakti we first have the seed and then the seed grows and then the fruits and flowers they come and we offer it to Krishna. But initially when we are practicing, we sometimes also introspect and see that if I am really going towards Krishna or I am stuck or going away from Krishna.
Yes.
So in that way, like when we hear that every provoking situation is a test for us, that how I'm reacting it. Every time that comes, like all the realization or whatever I have heard goes down the drain and I just get and move. And then many times.
We fall from time to time, you're saying.
It happens like with the children at home, like yesterday also was the day, I was hearing to a class in between a provoking situation happened because of my children. And I was just irresistible, like I could not use anything what I was hearing even 1 minute before. So I sometimes feel a little impatient about myself, like where.
It can be very discouraging, isn't it?
how we should keep ourselves again fixed and.
You keep in good association, they will inspire and encourage you. That's the definition of good association. Otherwise, you have to also just recognize that, when you're learning how to walk, you're going to fall from time to time. It's not unexpected, it's natural. It takes time. Be patient. Rupa Goswami has given us such wonderful advice in his Upadeshamritam. What does he say? You have to maintain 6 things all at once, and it's hard. It's really hard. You have to be really enthusiastic. You have to be really determined. You have to be really patient. You have to be really strict. You have to be really careful to avoid anything that threatens that practice. And you have to lead a pure life. And you have to do all these things all at the same time. And you have got to maintain that determination until you push through the anarthas that are keeping you down and causing you to stumble from time to time. Nobody says it's easy. That's why I said disciple means discipline. And discipline is necessarily an austerity. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we have to be more humble than a blade of grass. Because, a puffed up person will never be able to muster that kind of patience and tolerance and determination and all the other 6 qualities. Yeah, it's not easy, but Krishna helps when he sees that we're sincere, especially when he sees we're hearing every day from Srila Prabhupada's books, and when we're chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra with sincere attention. Krishna helps, and he will provide the association that we need. And we can pray for that also. The best thing is association. We discussed it already. Sadhu Sangha, Ityadi, Sarva Siddhi Hai. Every success will come through Sadhu Sangha. That we have to know. Is that okay? Art?
Thank you so much for the class. You mentioned that being a pure devotee was a decision. And so I was just wondering if you could elaborate on how it doesn't always feel like we have a choice to go to an as one that you were saying, and also what role does mercy play in decision?
Nice question.
Makes you feel like power, but sometimes it feels like I'm subject to my conditioning.
Yeah. Okay, we've got some short here, it seems. Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so, sometimes it can be very discouraging because we feel like we're up against big bad Maya, right? And Maya, we know, has 10 arms. And with only 2 arms, what can you do? If she's out to get you, there's nothing you can do. Even any ordinary demigod, they're all very powerful. And sometimes they do try to impede devotees for their own purposes or acting on behalf of Krishna, believe it or not. It happens. So, there's a couple of things we can consider here. One thing is that it's a lot easier to recognize, I think, that every test that we undergo is actually coming from Krishna, because not a blade of grass waves in the breeze without his sanction. So when we understand that the challenges that we are facing are coming from Krishna, and that it's a test from Krishna to see how much we love him, then we get a greater inspiration, because we recognize that it's an overture on his part. It's an act of love on his part, that he wants to pull us in. And when we appreciate it in that way, it's a lot more encouraging. Otherwise, if you just see it as big bad Maya, who's got 10 arms and you're hopeless against her influence. Even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you can't do nothing with Maya. That's pretty discouraging. That's one thing. But another thing is that if we keep ourselves in good association with devotees, they will keep us up. Even as we told her also that You may stumble and fall from time to time, but that's expected when we're just learning how to walk. No big deal. Just keep moving. Get right back up. Continue where you left off. Tamal Krishna Goswami said, even if you have committed every sin in the book 5 minutes ago, but now you can chant the holy name, and you should do that. If you never give up the holy name, no matter what, every single day you chant your rounds with determination, and do not let that pass. And even if somehow or other you do get bewildered and fall from that state of it, get up again and keep at it. Hote hote sab kuch theek ho jaye. Eventually everything will become resolved. That's mercy. You were asking about mercy. Krishna, when he sees that kind of endeavor, how can he leave you alone? He cannot do that. His heart is much softer than ours are. So it's like a baby crying for the mother. Every mother know? Raise your hand. If the baby is screaming, how can you cannot possibly ignore it. So Prabhupada told us, therefore the trick is for us, we have to cry like babies when we chant Krishna's name. That's all. When we have that kind of utter dependence. But, dependence is not something that is ever going to be encouraged in this world, isn't it? Never. To be dependent, to be humble, to be subservient, these are excluded values. So, that's what we have to work on against that conditioning. In India, there's like a new school going up every 10 feet, right? And you see the billboards, raise your child to be a leader, and it shows this kid with a confident. How many billboards are you ever going to find that say, raise your kid to be a submissive, docile servant? No way. This is not appreciated. Be dependent, ladies. This is another one, right? Forget it. This world is meant for another idea. But, the problem is that those are the people who embrace those ideals are the people who keep getting smashed and pinched by Maya's trident. So, yeah. Anyway, stay in good association, keep at it every single day, and pray hard, and you will get mercy. And we're all mercy cases ultimately. There's no other way. Is that okay? Anything else? Okay, one more.
You told that Krishna Upadesh and also Padapokar.
Yes.
So if someone is in front of me that people is hungry, so much food, so what should I do? What should I do? Shall I tell him about Krishna, or should I?
You can't preach to a hungry person.
What is the first?
It's like when the children want ice cream, do you try to convince them that they're not their bodies? Forget it. You have to be practical. And Prabhupada one day in Mayapur, he looked over his veranda and he saw down below, there was all these village kids, 6, 7 village kids. They were fighting off the dogs in the pile where everybody throws their used donuts. There's they're trying to get some chutney grease or something off the remnants that the people threw out. They're so hungry. And Prabhupada was so moved to see that. He said, from now on, nobody within a 10-mile radius of this temple should ever go hungry. So you see a hungry person, that's the example you gave. You give that person prasadam by all means. And don't underestimate the spiritual potency of prasadam. Materially, it's going to fill their belly also. But spiritually, it's going to do much better than anything else. So you find a way to help people who are in need, but in such a way that they are elevated spiritually, because that's the real help. And Hote will build up a critical mass. And one day when they've amassed enough punya, arjita punya, then they will take to Krishna consciousness. Then they can actually get somewhere in the human form of life. and make something really substantial out of it. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. Today I heard from a lot of devotees, so I had confusion about that. So now I'm clear. Thank you very much.
Do not ever underestimate the power of Krishna Prasadam. It is so important. And yeah, please.
Also, I see that a lot of religions in this world and other religions also they are they defend their religion by themselves. But why we are all the time depending that Avatar will come, Lord Krishna will come, and they will protect us? Why we are not trying to protect ourselves, protect our religion? Why we are not?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I didn't hear you clearly. Maybe in one sentence, if you.
In other religion, they are protecting themselves. They are protecting their religion by themselves. In other
Okay.
religion,
Yes.
they have not like that kind of God. They are not waiting for that in future the God will come and Supreme Soul will come, Supreme Avatar will come and they will protect their religion and themselves. But why we are saying every time that somehow you gave that Lord Krishna will come every yuga and they will save us? Why you are thinking like that?
Well, I don't think we're all thinking like that. I'm not thinking like that. Prabhupada is not thinking like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not thinking like that. It's not what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. All throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna, you have to fight. Arjuna wanted to sit on the sidelines and wait for the incarnation to come and clean up the mess. And Krishna told him, no way. You have to do this. This is your duty. So, Srila Prabhupada also said likewise. This is a misconception that I think primarily Hindus have. It is a very common misconception, unfortunately. Why it's like that? Well, I can't say, but it is noticeable. But the fact of the matter is, if you listen carefully to what Krishna actually says in Bhagavad Gita, if you open the book up and take the primary austerity of knowledge and assimilate something, you'll see this is not the message that Krishna is giving Arjuna. He's always trying to the whole point of Bhagavad Gita is to instigate Arjuna to fight. Many people interpret Bhagavad Gita in many ways, but at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, everybody agrees on one thing, and that is Arjuna is going to fight. But ultimately, his fighting should not just be mundane fighting. It should be elevated spiritually. That's the real thing. Krishna is trying to elevate Arjuna to the appreciation of pure devotional service, even within his own mundane dharma. And likewise ourselves. We have to all perform our duty in this material world, that's fine. But we have to do it in such a way that we're elevated spiritually and other people around us are also elevated spiritually. That's the most responsible position to take in society. I mean, since you've raised this point, I see in India, for example, Kerala, let's just take one example. Everybody, once they finish their beef paratha first thing in the morning, then they go to a shining white new church, and there's one every 20 feet there, right? Because the Christians are very active. And, if not that, then you'll get the masjid. And if not that, you'll get Congress, or you'll get communists, or get multinationals, or something. Because the Hindus, frankly, they're just absorbed in something else. Hindus are, Muslims are putting together madrasas, Christians are putting together their Bible colleges, and, the communists are out there and the multinationals are out there recruiting, everybody's busy. But the Hindus, what are they absorbed in? Tangamaligai Chennai silk suit. Tamils will understand. You look at the billboards and you can understand what's in the people's minds. It's all about gold and saris and, this, that. Who's thinking about prayers or shreyas? This is a problem. People are too much, in this material worldly consciousness. And a lot of that has to do with, I'm sorry to say, Shankaracharya, because he preached a philosophy that is so vague and so difficult and so unattractive that nobody Nobody can possibly apply it. And so what's the result? By default, the result is pure materialism. Madhvacharya, 900 some odd years ago, he predicted if this philosophy is not squashed now, it's going to result in worldwide corruption and decadence of morals. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. The predictable result is here. And he did predict it, and he spent his life trying to counter that. Are we doing the same? Think about it. One generation of neglect, and you wipe out thousands of years of cumulative wisdom, knowledge, spirituality, cultural attainment, etc., etc., etc. All you have to do is ignore your heritage, let your children go on with the association that they're getting 90% of the time, and you too, and then everybody goes to hell happily. So the antithesis to this is that you take Krishna's instructions seriously. Open Bhagavad Gita and see what he has to say. Apply those teachings in your life. Get the benefit of that application. Then you have some potency to speak to someone else and convince them. And that's real service to humanity. इसलिए मैंने कहा कि जन्म, what is that? Janmar sartha kari thora bharavaka. First deserve, then desire. You cannot give what you don't have. Say it again. So take it. Okay? You got some food for thought tonight. Or?
Can you explain that Adi Shankaracharya's thing that you just said? I didn't.
Yeah, because he's teaching Mayavad, Kevaladvaita.
Okay.
A complete, what the Purana calls Prachannam Bodham. It's just, it's as vague as Buddhism, but claiming to be spiritual. Who can act on this? How do you apply this philosophy? It has none. The only way to apply spiritual teachings is if you surrender to Krishna. Or at least you accept that there's a personality of Godhead. But if everything is Maya, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, everything in this world is just Maya to be rejected and thrown away, and the only real thing is some vague Brahma that nobody can really put their finger on it, how are you going to convince anybody to make advancement? Where's the inspiration going to come from? We want love. We want something real. Not physical necessarily, but you have to have something that's substantial. There is such a thing as substantiality that is not material, my friend. This is the point. There is personality that is not mundane. That's the point. And nobody's going to tell you that outside of Bhagavad Gita as it is. You know how I know that? Because I read them. When I was very young, I read many editions of Bhagavad Gita, and I could not understand what they were saying because the publishers didn't understand what they were saying. Evam parampara praptam. This thing has to come in parampara. Prabhupada finally did that. You know how I know that? Because I've read all the major commentaries in Sanskrit. They're all saying the same thing that Prabhupada says. All these Neo-Advaitins and even Shankara, they're the ones invented something new. The real thing is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Mamekam sharanam praja. That's how we get love, and that's what we're looking for. So, practical spiritual life, how to make it practical, you have to make it personal. You want some impersonal philosophy, and you also want to, transcend this world, it's not going to happen. Only love has the power to bring you out of this entanglement and sense gratification. Higher love. You can. Okay, anything else? Okay, one.
Can we check our pride and ego in our practices of devotional sense, in hearing and chanting, when naturally, the mind just comes in with, as you said, bakwas, starts speaking anything? How can we check the pride and that ego that we have?
How do we keep these anarthas in check, like false ego and pride and egotism, anger, all these things? Oh, that's easy. We follow the process of Krishna consciousness. We chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. You want to hear something else? one devotee came to Prabhupada. My god brother, I won't mention any names. He had some problem with lust in particular. So he told Prabhupada, I'm having a problem with lust. Tell me what can I do about it? And Prabhupada said, that's not a problem. You just chant Hare Krishna. And the devotees think, oh, Prabhupada, I am chanting Hare Krishna and still there's a problem. And Prabhupada got mad. He said, no, whenever you feel this problem, you're not chanting. That is the problem. So we got to put our money where our mouth is. I said, there's no disciple without discipline. You got to actually do it. You can't just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. So, whenever any of these things come and attack us, that's when we invoke the power of Krishna's holy name. Even Kulashekar Awar knew that. You know the verse I'm thinking of? No, anyway. But the point is that, yeah, we practically take shelter of Krishna by calling out his holy name. It's as simple as that. Even if you go to your local Publix, do you have Publix here?
Yes.
Yeah. So you see the person's name tag, you just call them by name, instantly you have their attention, correct? So why doesn't it work with Krishna? If I call your name, you're going to respond. You'll say, oh, yeah, who's calling? And Krishna also. Somebody's calling his name like a baby crying for Mata. How can he not? Of course he's going to turn around and listen. That's what we have to do. Simple as that. It is so simple. It is deceptively simple. It is too simple. We're looking for some complicated non-devotional option. That's the problem. That's the real problem. We want some non-devotional option. And it will always be complicated and it will always fail. The only thing that works is to surrender to Krishna. But the holy name alone is going to soften our hearts such that we're ready to do that. Bhavanam janmanamante. Amtor pare aisa hota hai. After many, many births, it takes. But it doesn't have to. You take good association now, you embrace his holy name, take it deep within your heart now, and you'll get the result now. It's so simple. All right, I think it's getting too late. It's already 8:30, so thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Such a wonderful and very powerful, to the point, like piercing class. That really something that we need to hear to actually awaken in our Krishna consciousness, take our spiritual life more seriously. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Let's give a big Hari Bol to Prabhuji.
Hari
His Grace Mukunda Prabhu ki.
Lord Bhakta Vrinda ki.
So tomorrow the Sunday Peace class, again Prabhuji will be giving the Sunday Peace class. So please come at 4 p.m. Aarti, and then 4:30 immediately we'll start with the class and we'll have some kirtan tomorrow. And then tomorrow 6 p.m. also we have a presentation by the children of the character development course. So they're going to put a half an hour beautiful drama, and they have big plans of serving popcorn and juice while they're doing the presentation. So please do come and we'll have a class and we'll have a nice drama presentation. That's tomorrow. And then on Monday, we're going to have a program at Sunil Prabhu and Venu Priya Vijay Mata's house in Apex. So 6:30 we'll start, and then we'll have kirtans, and maybe we'll do like a bhajan with explanation. We'll do a few bhajans, and then probably will explain the meaning. So it'll be a very nice session. We'll sing bhajans together. So that's Prabhuji's program. So tomorrow Sunday Peace, and then Monday evening we'll do the program later. So please do join us for these programs. And also next Sunday at the temple we are celebrating the Panihati Chidadahi Mahamotsav. So it's a beautiful festival, and for this festival, what we do is we have already announced that devotees, you can take pots. We actually brought extra pots today. You can take those pots and paint something beautiful. You can paint Krishna, Jagannath, Narsimha. You can also write some nice beautiful shlokas with the design. But we encourage everyone. We have some pots here. You can take pots, or they are available in Walmart or Home Depot. Get a pot that the small size or big size, whatever size you feel you can paint, and do a beautiful painting. We ask you to use acrylic paints, right? And then do a first coat, and you can paint on top of that. And it's nice engagement for the children also. They can also, be engaged. And bring it to a temple next Sunday, latest by 2:30 p.m. And we will be filling these pots with special prasadam. That is the speciality of the Paninati festival. And all these pots will go on the altar and offer to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. So it's very, very special. And also for that Sunday, all these preparations will be made by all of us. So please come early. You can also prepare some items at home, whether sweets or savory, or you can also make some different poha-based items. Like someone is from Bengal or Maharashtra, you can make that flavor poha preparation. It need not be much quantity to fill one pot, and you can bring it. Don't offer it. We'll offer it on the altar. Right? It's a very nice festival. So that is next Sunday. So we have 8 days. But please take a pot, paint a pot for next Sunday. Another announcement. So if you have more questions about the paint, pots or painting, or if you need some ideas, you can reach out to Ratnalika. She has some samples from the previous years. She can share that with you, so you get ideas to it. Okay, so thank you all so much, and I would like to thank our host, Haripal Prabhu Golokavasini Mataji, for hosting the program. Thank you. And also the next part of the program wouldn't be possible without all devotees helping to prepare different offerings. So we want to bring a big Haribol to all the devotees who helped for the prasadam for tonight. So let's give a big Thank you so much. So prasadam is being served in the garage. And please do come tomorrow, 4 p.m. at the temple for another class, right? Which is we do 10 more minutes.
Up to you. But you just told them to go for prasadam.
I think we can do 10 more minutes kirtan, and after you have the one. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Somebody can handle it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking us all the way to Sri Vrindavan Dham. The beautiful Kirtan. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. We can proceed Prasadam. Thank you. Bhagat Mahaprasad ki, Sadhu Sangha ki, Yes, Mukunda Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hare Krishna.